Greetings, everybody, and welcome to a very special video discussion on the newly announced WWE 2K23. Uh, I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Adam Vale. How's it going, Adam?
What's going on? I didn't see this coming at all, Rich. Did you see this coming? Did you think that a wrestling game? Did you think 2K was gonna? You know what? I was thinking maybe they would take another year off like they did before 22. Why not? Let it just simmer, right? It's like, no, man, we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting, and finally we got confirmation.
Yes, it's about time. We know that WWE 2K22 was a huge success, and we
Yep.
know that that game was released last March. So, yes, they absolutely needed to talk about 2K23, and I'm glad they finally dropped the
Mm-hmm.
news today. So, we want to take a little bit of time to go over everything we know so far. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, we'll start off by saying the game is coming out on March 17th.
Yep.
Um,
For all
the pre-
consoles except the Switch, but it's coming for Xbox, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, and Series X, S, PS5, PC. So,
Exactly. And
mm-hmm,
I believe we also know that John Cena is on every single cover of the game.
mm-hmm.
Um, I do have a comment to make about that, but I'll get
Nope.
into that a little bit later.
Did
We're
you
going to
did you
talk
see
about.
did you see what he
Go ahead.
posted on Instagram? He,
No, what
he
did he
he
post?
broke it right before he posted a picture of the game box cover with just blank, but it said WWE 2K23 because you can't see me, that type of thing. And I was like, and I
Yeah.
tweeted that out. I'm like, this is the best cover ever. It should come out. That should be the black edition, where it's just there's no because you can't see him, you can't see the man. So
Yes.
yes, this is it. And just a full disclosure, W2K22 was my game of the year. I said on the
Hmm.
site, said on Throwdown. If you're watching on YouTube, then you can see all my figs in the back. I'm a big wrestling fan. I collect and stuff. So I was super impressed with how they made this rebound because 20 was horrible. 20 was
Hmm.
horrible. They needed that time off. They took the time off. They regrouped because we know the whole Ukes and all that fiasco. There was a lot behind the scenes in the development, caused problems, but they came back strong. 22, we're still playing it now. Still playing now. The community is vibrant, especially for the crowds. All the creative wrestlers is awesome. You got all these YouTubers that popped up now, like with Assembly and all of them that are just following the community creations, which is fantastic because those
Hmm.
days of constantly going through and just trying to find stuff and then telling people, oh, this guy was a, now it's a lot easier. It's fantastic. They did a great job with 22. Super happy with it. So super excited for this one. And now we got right all these features.
Yes, I agree. Looking forward to it. And right before we get started, if you are interested in WWE 2K22, I actually have Adam's link, his review linked in this video as well. So definitely check that out. All right.
Yes.
So let's get right into it. So this is what we know so far based on the WWE2K.com website. We know that they're going to finally have the War Games match
Or
added.
games. Ooh.
Yes. So,
Exciting news. Exciting. Well, there was two things that the community and we were thinking about. Everybody was talking about. It's like, well, if you're gonna add new mode, don't bring back something that no one really cares about. But like, oh, buried alive match. When was the last time we saw one of those? We don't need to see that. A casket match. I think the last casket match I saw was in Lucha Underground. When was it Mil Muertes went against Ricochet at the Prince Puma and put him in a casket, sent him packing. But anyway, uh, I wanted to see something big. And the two that I think we even discussed is like, well, you got the fight pit, right? And we got war
mhm,
games. Those were the two big ones. I remember many years ago, the big one was to get the Elimination Chamber. Hell in a Cell, that was cool because you could toss them off. But man, the Elimination Chamber, big structure, how would that play out in the game? And it worked. They figured it out. So really hoping for war games. Wasn't sure if it could be done. It's a big project if you think about it, of trying to put the cage and the scenery. How far back do you have to move the camera and the characters? But hey, they pulled it off. They confirmed it. War games, for those who don't know, is two rings put together. I would say under a cage is the way it used to be with a lid. This does not have WWE style, does not have the lid, but it's still wrapped into a cage around 2 rings that are put together, and you have a series of your group. This is in the game. They said it's going to be 3 versus 3 or 4v4, men and women. So you pick your team up on the ramp. There's a cage, and then it's randomized who gets to come in, and you do your battles. So that was very exciting. Lionel Jinks, one of the directors, who has been making the rounds, talking about more in depth from the features that they sort of mentioned here on the website. They go into a little bit, but from his interviews that he's been giving out, providing a little more info, talking about how on your way into the ring, toward the ring, I should say, you have control of the character. It's not just going to be like the Royal Rumble where your character just runs in and it's action. No, he says you'll be able to then pause and go into the ring and actually grab a weapon. Pick the weapon that you want to bring in, which is accurate. We see that. That's what happens now. How much? Who knows? But that's pretty cool because then that means, oh, you know what? You want tables? We can grab a table, slide that in, and weapons and stuff like that. So that's a cool feature. And as I mentioned, there's men and women, and of course, in their own division, they're not having to match together. And they said that if a character. If a wrestler is known as a high flyer and can do jumps from one to the other ring, that'll be something they can do in here. You can dive and do stuff off the top. I'm sure people are going to set up all kinds of fun things that we've already seen, where you set up a table, maybe do something off the top rope. Off the top of the cage. Maybe if 2 people are fighting at the top, that'd be cool if you could do like a sunset flip or do something off the top. I don't know. I'm very excited to see how this whole thing pans out. What about you, Rich, when you found out War Games?
Oh, well, I was very excited to hear this. Again, that's something that I didn't know they were going to be able to do. I thought it would make sense for them to do it because they already was able to do Hell in a Cell, Steel Cage, and all these other matches. So I figured that was going to be heavily requested. So I'm glad that they added that. I will say, though, I hope that is not the only new match type, because I know people have been asking for other matches that we haven't yet seen in the game. So hopefully, though, we do have the option to obviously customize and create your own matches. So maybe people will make other match types based off of whatever it is they give us to go with in the base game.
I thought about that too. I think because there is that ability that you can create your own match type, and I was like, maybe that's where they can squeeze in the weird gimmick ones. Like an Inferno match. Do you really need a whole match type just for that option to have the ring around fire, that type of thing? Or just like even when we said with the Buried Alive, a cowbell match, if they decide to do something like that. There's a bunch of little ones that they can just add in as a customization, as an option. It doesn't necessarily need to be its own tab in the menu, I feel, because it should be just one of these. Hey, you have a normal match. You're going to add one of these little things to stipulations. Make things interesting. Because we always have the Iron Man match. How often have you played that Iron Man match? Do you play that?
When I do my career, the GM mode, I often have that match if it's for like a title match to like end off to like end a feud. So those are pretty fun, but you do get tired of that stuff if you continue to play that mode over and over again with the same matches. So we need some variety, obviously.
Need some variety. Yeah, we'll get into all of those, but the first one right here is it. So before we move on to, I guess, the next feature, but for the War Games, let's see. So we know that 3v3, we know you have weapons. It sounds like the way they keep describing it from the interviews that I've seen about it is that it's going to be in the NXT arena, as you could see in the image there. They're in NXT arena, and you could see in the background a little bit of the cages and all that stuff. But it also they kept pointing out that they were excited that it was part of Survivor Series, and I'm assuming it's going to be in there, but the way they word it is as if we're not going to be able to pick which arena we can have a War Games in. So meaning like, I don't think we're going to be able to have a WrestleMania. And then if we're putting together my GM, we're going to throw a War Games at Mania. I don't think it's going to let us do that. I don't know. It's interesting because we've seen that with some of the other ones. Royal Rumble had that. I think Elimination Chamber had that, or maybe not. But I know the Rumble had certain locations. I don't think I could. I don't remember if they did in the Thunderdome. I hope the Thunderdome comes back. I know they don't use it anymore, but they shouldn't take it out. That was fun.
I agree.
It's history. It brings back memories. Right? that was a crazy time in wrestling, seeing everybody on a virtual wall. That was nuts. But overall, it looks cool. They did mention. Now I don't know. Well, we didn't see gameplay of this, but they did mention that there's a ref. They added female refs. So I wonder if we're going to see. I don't think we would have to see a ref at least at ringside, but I don't know. There's a lot of characters on screen, and maybe that's why they're not doing the first five, because then they're taking into account the ref. Yeah.
Now I did want to mention that there is going to be a trailer tonight during Monday Night Raw. I don't know if they've shown it yet because we are recording right now, but I will say we might have some more answers for that by the time we see that trailer, if this stuff is in the trailer. But in any event, you already know 2K is going to definitely have a video that they release at some point talking about all the different features, just like they did with 2K22. I would imagine they're going to have a weekly video or some monthly type of video where they're going to do so. We'll definitely see more on this soon, I would think.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for War Games. I'm excited to see if it's available online, if it's an option, because
that's
offline. Yeah,
that's a that's a very good question. I don't know if it will be.
I don't know. I know for a long. Yeah, I mean, it would be great, but we will have to see, because the way they described it, the amount of work, they said they've been working on this for a long time, and they could all be whatever, but they make it seem like they were really trying to get this to work, and they used a lot of other things that they were teasing and things that they were able to do that they couldn't do before, like when they made the cage super high. Remember that they changed the design and how they would add that depth. I'm like, okay, and then how they did a bunch of the big spots in the background fights, and they're like, all right, well, they're working on that feel of view and to see how they can produce that, all with the goal of making War Games a thing. And it is here. So I really hope that it plays out the way they make it seem, and then we don't have any issues. And people are like, what kind of issues could you have? Well, we can have slowdown. That's the worst. There's a lot on screen. There's a big cage. There's a crowd behind it. If that crowd is animated, a lot going on. We could definitely, once you start throwing items and things like that, and if you're zooming in and out, let's say if Rich and I are fighting some guys on the main on the ring, and then there's like two guys on one side of the top of the cage, another two guys, it can get chaotic. So if hopefully there's no slowdown and performances apart, it looks great. That's the whole beauty of War Games when watching as a viewer, is that there's a lot going on, and it's chaotic. It's war.
Exactly. It's war.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, stay tuned for more on that. Let's see what other features we got here. Okay, the showcase mode, which features John Cena. Now, I'm gonna read this real quick. The champ is here. Play through an interactive sports documentary narrated by John Cena himself, covering the key moments and toughest opponents of John Cena's storied 20-year WWE career, and in the franchise first, take on the role of each marquee opponent, some of WWE's greatest of all time, as you aim to take down Mr. Hustle, loyalty, and respect. Okay, so
the key. That last line is the key part of that paragraph right there.
Yep.
You play as the opponent taking down John Cena. They're doing a flip on this go around. It's not like the Rey Mysterio and Austin where the goal is to win your matches. Yeah, occasionally there was like one match you lose, right, in the Rey Mysterio one, but all of them you had to win. So this is like, no, this is him. You're playing as the opponent trying to beat John Cena. That's interesting.
That's very interesting. I do have questions about how that would impact the showcase itself. If it's a match that John Cena actually did win, and then you change course of history, does it still continue onward, or is it just something where they're giving somebody an option you can play as John Cena or this wrestler?
If you remember the way they did it with the Rey Mysterio, you could get those other endings, but you didn't get the unlocks. The unlocks that were tied to it stayed locked. So I remember I had a lot of trouble with the Batista, Rey Mysterio versus Batista, because the QTEs were randomized. I suck at those QTEs. I suck. And then at the time, my 5-year-old comes in, my son, and he's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I keep messing up the QT." And he, like a matter of seconds, he did it. He's like, "Done." I was like, "See, look, there you go." You know, but but I had trouble with it, and I kept losing. But then it would continue on. It moved on to the next match. I just didn't get Batista. I didn't get the unlock, and then I could go back and replay it. I think that's how this is going to work.
Okay.
Where it's like, yeah, you could do that. And who knows? Maybe they can change that up too. Maybe they could give you something as an unlock for breaking the. I doubt if they'll do that because it's a showcase. You have to stick to the history. They don't want you to rewrite history. They want you to play history. Which I when I first saw this, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. He's had some memorable matches. One of the most memorable is the feud that he had with Edge. Remember that ladder match? That was amazing. I mean, that was one of the biggest times I've ever seen him take crazy bumps.
Oh yeah,
falling off the ladder and the whole thing.
That was a classic match. You have, of course, the matches with The Rock at WrestleMania.
But he didn't win that match.
Well, no, The Rock won one, and then he won one.
No,
so,
but the Edge one,
Oh, you're talking about with John Cena?
When John Cena went against Edge, remember? And then he got thrown off, but then he threw Edge off onto another ladder, and he won because that was one when he won. Then he hugged his dad, that was at ringside.
Yeah.
So I was like, if this is, they have to add that match. But then we're playing as the opponent, we're not going to beat him because he's definitely going to win. And so it's like, but I would think that match has to be part of the showcase.
Yeah. That'll be part of it. Like I was saying, the matches with The Rock, because The Rock won one of those matches against John Cena, and then John Cena won the other one. So that is probably definitely going to be one of the matches they highlight in this mode.
They said they go all the way up to Roman Reigns, the 2021 Roman Reigns.
And Roman Reigns better win that match.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. If you're going that far up, then are we going to see? I don't know how they do it to make it playable, but the Fiend match that he had. Remember?
That's a good. Well, hey, you know what? That's an interesting question because I don't. That's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah,
that would be a fun match to play. But I don't know.
And I'll just say it right now because before we even get to the roster, which they really didn't go into, and they usually don't. But the reason why I bring it up is because they did talk about some of the DLC goodies that you get for the 3 different editions. There's a standard, there's a deluxe, and then there's the icon packs. The standard, you will get Bad Bunny for pre-ordering, and then the deluxe, you get a bunch of the same, accelerator, unlock this, unlock that, Bad Bunny, and all this other stuff. And then the icon one, you get, and of course, some my faction cards. And the same applies for the icon one, and you get a bunch of versions of John Cena, even back when he was Prototype. And you get Batista when he was Leviathan, and pretty much that whole older crew. They talked about even early Brock. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when we found out that Bray Wyatt, Fiend, and all that was back in WWE, yay, we're happy. We know that he was originally part of 22. We found the assets, all the great creators online found ways of unlocking all the other assets, like his entrance and stuff. So he was there. There's no mention of him. And that was a question that everyone said. It was like, oh, well, if now he's back, he's the big draw. We see that. The ratings and the numbers of merch, he's a big draw. Why are they not showcasing that he is confirming that he is part of this? Now, who knows? Maybe I'm saying this now, and like we just said, that trailer could show it, him with the lantern and then blow our minds. But I don't know if the new version of Bray is in it because it was over Lionel, the director, and I'm trying to find the site to give credit to them. Video games and VG24. It was one of those. Sorry, guys, but definitely out there. I'm giving credit. He had said it one of these sites. Just saying that there was a cutoff point. And we know there always is a cutoff point, but he said it was like somewhere between like late November to December. And so people are trying to figure out, well, who showed up during that time? So it could be a bunch of people. And one of the things that they mentioned were Hit Row. At least like in this article, people trying to figure out oh, well,
Yeah.
maybe Hit Row won't be in it. But some of their assets were in the game for 2K22. So they didn't really change
Well,
too much.
oh yeah, you're right. You're right. So that's a very good question. I would think there's no way he's not in this game. Now, obviously, he's has his first return match back this upcoming weekend at the Royal Rumble. So I think, if anything, he's probably going to be part of the season pass because obviously like I said, we haven't seen the trailer yet. There's a lot of people that need to be in this game. A lot of the NXT talent that
Do
wasn't
we
in the
know this
last
is
game.
season pass?
Well, I mean, when I mean,
Well,
it has
even
to be,
no,
right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Now I think about it, we could keep looking down. I don't even think they even mentioned DLC. Like, remember before they used to mention that, like NXT packs or like what we had. We had the Bonsai pack. We had a bunch. Yeah, we could assume. I'll take that too. I'll assume that they are going to do it. They just didn't want to talk about it. But
They're probably going to save some surprises.
Would you be okay with that? With the Fiend, if there was like a pack of multiple, or if it had Uncle Howdy and all of them, as opposed to just being in the game, would you be okay with that?
I actually would prefer him be in the game because Bray Wyatt has been back for a little while now. Obviously, we haven't seen him wrestle, but this guy has been back. You would assume a lot of his moves are still the same. So I would prefer if he is playable right from day one. But I also know that they have Bad Bunny as a pre-order DLC. And I don't really understand that either. I mean, I know why, because Bad Bunny is a draw. He's a huge music artist, and I think that
bring
was
that
what
audience. Bring that.
They definitely want to capitalize on that. So I understand that, but Bray Wyatt should be a playable character. I mean, there's a list of people that should be playable.
I got something for you. Then I'm wondering, what do you think? All right, so remember when the people on the PC version did the deep dive into code and stuff, and they found that Bray was originally part of the My Rise story. And he had this whole thing where he would like possess a certain character. I think it was Dana Brooks or something like that. There was all this craziness, and they found all of that within the code, the story. What if they decide now that he's back just to squeeze that in? Like,
I think they should do that.
You think so? Like, we didn't use it in the last one. We can use it now.
I personally think that they should do that to give the fans more content because. I mean, Bray Wyatt coming back was a very big deal. I kind of feel like people will probably play through the Cena showcase, and then after some time, they're going to want something else to dive into besides the GM mode and all the other stuff. So I think if they are considering that, hopefully they do go in that direction because that would be a nice little additional bonus content for people to play.
Yeah, because I don't know if so many people did the deep dive of reading about that. Maybe they won't know. My whole thing is that would people feel like, oh, you just put back what you took out before. It's not really new. But I think it'd be fine. I'd be cool with it too. Because we didn't get to play it. We didn't get to play that experience.
Exactly, and they can tweak it now that there's all these other characters that he has. The Uncle Howdy, they can add certain elements to it. To make it to try to change up certain things, but again, I don't really know how far they were with that concept when they was going to have it before. But I would like it as some additional content if possible.
All right,
but we'll see.
We'll see. All right, what's the next one? What's
next? Let's see, because this is a short list. Okay, the universe mode. Okay. The world of WWE is at your fingertips with Universe Mode, the ultimate sandbox that puts you in charge of WWE from superstar rosters, feuds, champions, weekly shows, and premium live events. So the question I have for you is, did you see anything in notes about anything that's different with Universe Mode, or that was not revealed yet?
And these interviews, Lionel did say that they made some tweaks with how feuds are started. And how they end. So starting a match, we're going to see a prompt where we can either shake their hand or do some other gesture. And then ending, you also have what we've seen before, where you can either just keep attacking them or maybe you can help them up, that type of deal. And this can impact how the feuds progress. Now, there should be more to it. I'm sure there's more to it. They didn't mention too much, though. One of the things that a lot of people thought, because they had said that they were excited to introduce a new game mode, not a match type, a mode. And again, maybe it's in that trailer that we're missing on Raw right now. But a lot of people were thinking, well, this makes perfect sense if they just combine Universe with GM. If they just bunch it together and there you go, my GM, Universe, do the whole thing. But it doesn't seem that way because, as you see, when we get further down, my GM is still something separate. And in the Universe, it doesn't look like I'm sure they've added some other things, but as you see, this has like the shortest description out of all of them. But yeah, this is the one that arguably is the most played out of all the modes. People live in Universe mode, and if people are like, oh well, why do you live if you're not? Well, this is why, because you can create your own shows. So let's say you're a fan of AEW or old one, Lucha Underground or MLW, wherever. You can go down, get your creative wrestlers that people have made, awesome work that they've done, get the rings, because you can get the rings, you can do all of that, and then you can create a show in Universe, put them all on there, put the title on there, and then you can have feuds in between certain characters. You can have, let's say, Cody run in and fight, create Kenny Omega, on an AEW show, and then he can invade the other. You can do all this in Universe mode, and then it takes a life of its own. So once you place it and you select who's their allies, who's their foes, then that's it. It goes on from there, and sometimes you'll see certain characters interfere in other matches or become friends, and it's alive. It's the Universe. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how. Other improvements one of the things they mentioned is something about story elements, and he said they're going to adjust the story. And I guess the example that they gave though was like, oh, you can, like I said, starting and shaking hands, whatever, and then ending. But there should be a little bit more to it, I'm hoping. I did not like a few years back when we had the dialogue, the promos, and it was just the text-based stuff.
yeah.
That was, man, that got very repetitive. It was horrible, and it was like you have to try to win the promo. It slowed down the pace of everything. I used to hate those. When those came up, I would just button mash to skip it because I don't need that. So that's not something I want. I would like where in the Universe mode, if I'm playing my character and I'm going through that, I would have more of a choice of how I wanted my character to go. Sort of like in My Rise. When you play the career of My Rise, they would say, all right, well, you go into a room, it's like, all right, this one, the past one, 22, you could talk to fans. They're like, oh, remember this, man? Oh, I'd like to see you do a hardcore match with so-and-so, and then you can pick and do that type of thing. It'd be cool if there was something like that in the back where you're there and maybe a wrestler, there's a bunch of them hanging around like they used to do. And it's like, hey, maybe we should have a match. Or, you know what? This guy's been talking all this stuff about how he's better than you and so-and-so. Do a feud. I would interfere in his match if I was you. And that type of thing. And then have that option that instead of simming through the matches, let that one play out, interfere. The little things like that. That'll be cool.
I agree.
So we'll see, though. I can't imagine that this is it. There's got to be more to it.
No, there got to be a lot more. So hopefully they got a lot more news coming our way. Mm-hmm. So let's see what's next. Oh yes, now my faction. Now I believe, Adam, this is your favorite mode from 2K22.
All right. You see that with tongue in cheek, but you know what? I am a FIFA Ultimate Team player, which is also a card-based game. I do not buy into all the microtransactions. I know that's what this is designed for, but I do not. I enjoy playing and completing the challenges and earning the packs. And when this first launched, I loved it. I was jumping in until I started getting the same type of cards. Everything just felt very repetitive. The one cool feature with all of these cards is that you would get the alternate attires and entrances of these wrestlers, which we started seeing a lot of content creators finding ways of grabbing that and carrying it over into the other modes. Because that's the one thing that sucked. Like one of the cool things is like getting Seth Rollins, a throwback version where he had the flaming, stick and he lit the stage on fire and all that. Awesome. But you couldn't do that in the other modes until I think What the Status or someone else, one of the creators came up with and figured out a way to do it. But that's it. So yes, it's great. And that keeps you playing those. But then there was nothing else really changing. There was no online. You're playing the same tier structure. It was like, all right, 1-on-1, 2-on-2. Then you do the, the 3-on-3 or like the 4-on-4, and it would go on forever because it was always interference. That was a big gripe that I had. I know they tried to adjust the amount of times that there was a run in, but it always happened. I used to hate playing those because then there's always, whenever I would go for a pin, somebody would jump in. So what did you have to do? You had to beat up everybody, toss them all out, and then grab the guy and slam him against the turnbuckle, have him fall down, and then pin him all the way in the far end of the ring, or do a count out. And there was a lot of people that were playing, they're trying to boost it and doing cheese countouts and stuff. Or there was a trick where you can grab a weapon. Of course, if you hit the weapon, you get disqualified. But the NPC automatically would grab the weapon from you and hit you with it. And then you would get a quick win every time. But anyway, back to the whole point with the cards. It sounded great and it was fun. But then after a while, it just got very repetitive and it didn't really do much. I hope this go around, they're still going with it. People still play. I'm sure they were buying cards and wanting to and making money because people are just crazy about these type of card games. As much as people bitch, there's another group that love them. We see it in all these games. 2K has it in the basketball game. We see this in hockey, the EA, NHL. We got this, of course, in Madden. I mean, this is a very, very popular game mode, and it's here to stay in all of these games. So, you were going to say something?
And two quick things I want to say is now it does say that now this is going to have online multiplayer. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But also, I see that Braun Breaker is on a card. So that's great. That confirms that he's in the game as a playable character.
No. that confirms that he has a card and he could be playable here. That was the issue. There was a lot that we saw before, and even with the Fiend had a pack. That people found it had the image and it showed it, and he wasn't in there. But what we're hoping for, and we're hoping that they listen, because this is one of the things also that Lionel said when in these interviews, and I'm sure it's on YouTube. I mean, today has been crazy. I was watching tons of it. They were all over the place. And they were answering all kinds of questions, which is fantastic because everybody had different questions for them. And one of them was about the creation. They loved it. They love all the creators. And he said, we love the fact, people creating their favorite wrestlers from past, present, and other promotions. That's great to hear. They're all for it. They want to make adjustments. But then he should also know that one of the things that people were doing, and like we mentioned, What the Status and a few others, is that they were finding ways to grab these cards, these entrances of these particular superstars from different time periods and making them playable in other modes. And I really hope they implement that in my faction, that if you do open up a pack, and let's say I do get that Seth Rollins again, and it says, all right, not only do you have the card, but now you have his character as an alternate to play in outside of this mode over in universe or whatever. So then that way when I go, I can, you know what I mean? Like when we have Rey Mysterio, after you play Showcase, you have like 7 or 8 Rey Mysterios in a row, from different years. I get that. But I'd be cool with if I can do the same with these, if I knew, because then I would be more enticed to play my faction, because then I'm like, well, that's the only way I can get, a certain version of, like that was the thing with the Undertaker. Undertaker had a bunch of versions and stuff, but most of them were all in that mode. And it'd be cool. It's like, all right, I know if I play and I win these matches, it says I'm going to win this pack or I'm going to win this version of, Eddie Guerrero, and he comes down with the car. You remember that when he used to come on with her? I would love that entrance. What do I have to do to get that? Well, you got to beat this tournament thing with my factions. Okay, if I know I can use it outside of this and in my other match types and stuff like that, that'd be great. So hopefully they do that and they don't lock all of that down to my faction. So
hopefully.
That's my only real. They didn't really, as you see here again, this is early on, not so early if you think about it, because like we said, the game comes out March 17th, but the descriptions are very limited, and this is from the official page, and it's sad that all the info that I'm spewing off, now that I think about it, it's just coming from interviews that I heard Jinx over here giving out, because this page is pretty limited. And I guess this is why people were asking for a little more insight, because from face value, it looks the same besides the online play.
Yeah, I mean, it does look the same. I mean, I still think that there is going to be more information revealed. I know they're probably going to have, like I said, they had those shows in the past for
Hmm.
2K22. So we're definitely going to hear more information. And I am curious to see again what this trailer is that they showed tonight. I don't expect them to show too much in that trailer, but I could be
Yep,
wrong.
yep,
We have to
yep.
check that out.
Hmm.
So let's see what else we have on here. Oh yes, My Rise. So walk through the curtains for your WWE debut in My Rise and shape your career as a WWE superstar with the decisions you make along the way, featuring distinct storylines, the lock in the legacy. So did you try My Rise in WWE 2K22?
I did. I did,
Oh
and
yes.
I think I played as you can pick what type of person you want to be, and I was a former football player who hurt his knee or something like that, and decided to jump into wrestling. And I
Yeah.
was a prick to everyone because it was dialogue choices. And I was just like, it was an indie guy who was like, "Yeah, I've been traveling all over the world." And it's like, "Hey, I respect that." It's like, "I don't care." And I was like, "I don't care." You know, and he's like, "Oh, really? Oh." I mean, we traveled to Mexico and all this stuff. So it was fine. It was fine, but it didn't really do much. And that's usually what happens here. And it wasn't until we found out that there was supposed to be a very deep story that
Mm.
contained the Fiend,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
that was taken out. So hopefully something like that will continue because, like it says here, even that there's going to be stories, and that was it. And we saw, I think was it the year? Was it? It was actually in 20. I think it was like the brother and not the brother and sister. It was the two friends. Remember that they wanted to be wrestlers, and they went to Bret the Hitman's house, his family house, a dungeon out in Canada. That was in the story and doing that whole thing, and I see how they tried to incorporate a bunch of things, but from what we read from the script that they had with the plans with the Fiend, I found it sounded more in depth. Like there was a lot more to it. I
Mhm.
don't know how far they're going to go with this, but has been one of those things where what do you really get out of it? You know what I mean? Meaning like we know that when you play universe mode, you unlock not universal the showcase mode, you unlock characters and arenas and all that stuff. My career, you build up your character and you level up and you do the abilities is mainly that type of thing. But it doesn't really unlock anything. I don't recall ever unlocking any of that stuff. I mean, yeah, Chivos and trophies you get for win the title on NXT and then get called up to the main roster, pick it up. But besides that, when it comes to just playing the game and just fun, majority of people don't play this. Even when before it was called My Rise, it was just they rather do that in universe mode.
Mhm.
You know, because that is more. It's alive. You can incorporate, like I mentioned, the creative wrestlers stories you do. You don't really have any control in this. So you're just a nobody working your way up to the top, and then that's it. It's supposed to be a good story with it, but most of the time it's kind of forgettable. So I really hope that this one that they just mentioned here, this legend thing, has some kind of connection with someone of relevance that maybe they take you under their wing, that type of deal, you know, and help you on your way
Maybe.
up. Because that's what one of the other things that the other one had was it with Daniel Bryan was in there, and then Triple H helping you on your journey. I think
Yeah.
that was in 20. I think that was in 20. But then the game was so broken you couldn't play anything. But we'll see. We'll see how this pans out. I don't ever see a lot of people that when we talk about this wrestling, and no one really cares about the career mode like
Yeah.
this. But we'll see.
We'll see. Uh and I believe we have one more to discuss here, and this is my GM. Now I'm going to read this description real quick here. With my GM, take the reins of a weekly show and compete against rival general managers for brand supremacy. Now featuring more GMs to choose from, additional show options, multiple seasons, expanded match cards, and more match types for up to 4 players. Now, let me go ahead and say this right now. This was one of my favorite modes in 2K22, even though it ended pretty quickly. And afterwards, there wasn't really, like I kept wanting to go back in and try to beat the computer. After I beat the computer, I kept wanting to go back in and do it again and again and try and see how I can do it with different rosters. But the issue is this mode was not online. And I recall people was complaining, asking if there was ways they can play with others. instead of you all having to be in the same place playing
Yeah.
at the same time. So I would hope that that's something that they have considered, because that was the main complaint last year with this mode, is that it felt like I have to play with somebody who's actually, with me
Yeah,
playing at the
yeah.
same
Yeah,
but
I didn't play anywhere near the amount that you played. I remember always seeing you playing this mode. I'm like, man, you're living in there. So now the question I have is, did the GMs that were there, did they have dialogue? Is there a reason that there were just a
there
handful?
wasn't there wasn't no dialogue. Everything was done through like an email, like you'll receive an email,
You
Triple
see?
H, he will
So
tell
so
you,
what
and
does it
it's
matter? Why can't we just pick anybody to be a GM? Why does it have to be
well,
someone?
there was an option for you to create your wrestler and have them be the GM, and some
Okay.
people were modding it so that it's a wrestler that's the GM too. So I guess there is some options like that.
Mhm. And,
Um, but
and what was it?
it's no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say what the other issue I saw was like something about belt types. Like there was only one type of belt or something you can go for.
Yeah, that was the main issue because they had the tag belts. I mean, I haven't played 2K2 in a little while, but of course you had the world title, the tag belts. There wasn't a mid-card title at the time, and then they didn't have all of the match types they had available in the universe mode. So stuff like that really annoyed people. And then they did an update like after 2K2 came out where they added where you can now defend another belt type. But
Uh-huh.
the issue was that that's the only change they did to that mode, and then they didn't touch anything else. They do little stuff here or there, fix little issues that of things that happen in the mode, but they didn't fix the core stuff that people wanted. So that's why I'm curious to see what else this mode is going to have. Now, everything they say on here sounds good, but that online thing is going to be some people again are going to be wondering, okay, I want to play with somebody else, because I'm
Uh-huh.
not going to be able to play with my friend all the time and us being in the same place at the same time together. That's not something that is realistic. So
Yeah.
hopefully they will consider that. But the match types great. They needed to add more match types because it was very limited in what you could do. That's why you would get tired of the mode real quickly. But
Mm.
hopefully they have listened to the feedback and they will make this a better option for those that are interested.
Yeah. Well, it says that they're adding more match types and stuff like that. So I'm sure that that includes war games, and who
Yes.
knows, whatever else they add. So it's we'll see, we'll see. I mean, that's when I heard about the idea that they were creating a new mode. I think that's another reason why so many people thought that this was going to be merged with the universe because it sounds pretty empty, at least the
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
22. So it
And
definitely.
I agree. And then the dialogue, it's not really anything like you said. There's no dialogue. Like you have the constant emails back and forth. Well, like let's say you're competing. Let's say you decide to choose Shane McMahon and you're competing against Triple H. You will have Triple H send you emails, talking bad about you whenever he's doing better than you in the ratings
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
But
So
it's no
stuff like
voice
that was
dialogue. There's no.
there's
He's
no
not
there's
like
no voice dialogue. You,
you
you
know.
do have wrestlers that they threaten to leave and go to another promotion if they feel that you don't use them enough in matches or they're injured and you promise them or
Can
I'm
you
not going to
reply
let you
back
wrestle.
in caps? You're fired. You don't
Oh
threaten
no,
me.
you see you can play hardball with some of them, but then like for example, if there's a wrestler that's injured and you tell them and they tell you that they need a break, you can tell them no, I don't know, you're not going to get a break. Oh yeah, I'll give you a break. But if you tell them you're going to give them a break and then you decide to go in another direction and have them compete in the following week again, they'll be very angry, and that will
Mm,
affect the morale, and eventually they may leave if you don't do
mhm.
something for them. Or they may you may try to re-sign them and then they ask you for even more money than initially the value that they're worth. So it's stuff like that that makes it
So
interesting.
can you make it like your own dark side of the ring and just put a hit on a certain guy like oh he's gonna leave this is his last match I'm gonna
I mean, you,
Brock
you could
break his leg and get that option. It was like injure wrestler like select that.
because
I know it's horrible. It's
theoretically
horrible.
you can wear out the other wrestlers to an extent. Yes, you can.
Oh
Um,
boy.
but again, it was a very bare bones compared to what the mode was. because there was another game in the past that really did a very good job with them with this mode, and they just brought this into this game to try
Yeah.
and switch it up. But it
It
was
was their
very bare
first go.
bones.
Yeah, it was their
Yeah.
first go. I saw the other one, and it looked like that football manager that people love to play. I mean, there
Yeah.
was like stats all over. I'm like, yeah, if you love spreadsheets, this is the game for you. This
Hmm.
mode, I should say. Oh man. But yeah, so is that it? Is that all that's listed right now
That's
on this
all.
thing?
That's all they have listed for right now
All right. Well,
on the
then
website.
the one other things that I heard him talk about is a Jinx when he was talking again during that same conversation where he was talking about the community and creative ones, is that they updated how the creative wrestlers look, saying that he
Hmm.
wanted to make them look on par as for a 1-for-1 for the models that were already in the game, so they didn't stand out. So
Okay.
that was the other thing that they're working on, and they also added a bunch of new features for customizations, and one of them is the stage and the
Hmm.
rings, so that you can put like the LED borders and stuff like that we see in the show. That you can add that, and a few other things. I don't know if you guys. I'm assuming we can add our own maybe marquee wording or whatever if you can edit that, but also doing more with the stage. So that could be interesting because let's say if you want to, I don't know, move the announcers, and put them up on the stage in a certain way, maybe you can do that.
Yeah.
Maybe certain things you can do. But yeah, they said they added that and a few other tweaks and changes to it. I mean, some of the things that I would like, and I hope it get added, is if I download an attire, I would like to see if I can just save that to the character as an alternate attire, as opposed to have a whole separate created superstar. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
let's say if, for example, best example, MVP, right? We got MVP. He's the regular in the game. He was there wearing his outfit. He's a wrestler, but I wanted the suit version. So somebody had made the suit version. So I had to download the created guy, have him in there, then go into the settings for the main MVP, then set it as an alternate attire, and
Hmm.
do all this. It'd be great if I go into the community center and I see the option. I get an option to download as a creative wrestler, or just download attire to as the secondary for the wrestler. You know what I mean? So that way I'm just getting the access and I'm not taking up a creative wrestler slot because he was never going to wrestle. That's not what I wanted him for. I just wanted just the attire. Those type of things, that'd have been nice. Some kind of integration with Spotify, because Spotify is on the PlayStation and on the Xbox and of course on PC. So if you remember, I think it was a 2K, WWE 12. I think it was 12, 13. I want to say it's the one with Randy Orton, but I
Hmm.
think that was the last one where you can incorporate your music. You could load it on, it was on the 360 and stuff. You can put music on a disc, you can put that on the hard drive, and then you can associate the song to your created wrestler. I remember I did that for TNA guys and stuff. They would come down, they had their own songs. It was great. Why can't we have that for the creative wrestlers, but just link to, like a Spotify service? They almost all their theme songs are there, or just any other song. Why can't I just like, oh, you know what? I want this guy's theme song to play whatever. Let's say Kenny Omega, get that. I want his song. It's on Spotify, and then I should select it so that when he comes down, it plays the song. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I agree. Oh yeah, that would be
Have
awesome.
have that
Well,
integration.
well, I know people have been. I know our very good friend Mr. Ricardo Negron has been wondering when are they going to allow us to have the custom soundtracks. You have music on Spotify, stuff being able to use that music in the actual game, because a lot of the WWE themes are on Spotify.
Yep.
You can actually listen to the music, and I know on the PC version people have been doing that. So I would
Oh
hope
yes.
that
Oh,
that's something that they're going to be thinking about, because it will make it so much easier. Whenever a wrestler has a new theme that's already available, you can get access to it another way, instead of just playing the game with just the
mhm.
old theme, that because you can't change it.
Yeah, and
So
and like I mentioned, these consoles, that service is there. The app is already there. So
mhm.
it's not like, oh, well, it's not available on those platforms. Well, it is. So it's just trying to work out a deal with Spotify. I don't know if it's a money thing. Maybe they wouldn't see it as a money thing because you would still probably they could probably tie it to a money thing. Spotify maybe say, hey, that feature, go ahead, add in your game, but it's only for premium members. Maybe they do
Yeah.
something like that. It's like it's not for the free. Cause that'd be funny. You go to set it for like I don't know, let's say Jamoe Joe, because I'm not sure if he's in there or not, because he's gone. But and you put his old theme in there, and then a commercial pops up instead because you have the free version, and when you go to start the song, it's like we're gonna play this commercial instead. That'd be funny. But no, those are some of the features. Those are the two that really stand out to me that I would have really liked. One of the things that I do miss, and I'm throwing back. This is way back when you can create a taunt. Do you remember that? Creating
Yeah, I do. I
taunts.
do remember that.
And I remember spending a long time because I just wanted Sabu pointing to the heavens, and spending time just trying to get the animation right and then turning the head and the look and how long to hold it and stuff. Those type of things. That was fun. Maybe bring something like that. They had one, I think it was in that same version too, where you can create a finisher. You could do some modifications to some of the moves to make your own. They didn't go too in depth on all the stuff. Right now, it made it seem like it was all about cosmetics, just making it look proper, making the models look like the ones that are already built in the game. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad that they're embracing it, because that was my fear at first, that maybe they were a little upset or hearing backlash of from other promotions, like, why are we seeing these videos of my superstars in your game? It's like, we want restrictions, but you have to sign off on a bunch of disclaimers. I mean, yeah, we all scroll down and press A, or XX, depending on your platform, but we're signing off basically for them saying that they're not taking responsibility for anything that you create. Yes, you can, and then it's really leaving it up to the community to patrol, because you'll see it'll say at the end when you download, do you want to report this person, whether it's offensive language or whatever written on something. Occasionally they would remove certain characters or something, but that was because there was mods attached to them, certain things that were not in the game and could probably cause problems on other platforms, because that's one of the beauties of this game, is that created community center is the same across all of them. It's a melting pot. So you're with the PC, you're with the PlayStation and Xbox, everybody. As long as you're signed into your 2K account, you're seeing everything. So I remember the first day it launched, it was like a few hundred. By the end of the week, it was like 20,000-30,000 pages of created characters.
Yep.
It was crashing for a while. Remember, it was always crashing because it was growing so fast. And that was fantastic, because right now there's not a person you can type in or Russ or anybody and you'll find them. You'll find a version and images and the rings. There's still bugs. I still have issues. I don't know about you, but with custom rings, where I'll download a ring and it won't show up. And I had to do this workaround trick that I found, that I have to go into edit the ring, then just pretty much save it and override it, doing no changes, but for some reason saving it, and then it shows up as one of the rings that I could select. Because I tried to get the up, down, down ring, the what you call it, the New Days guys, their ring, Xavier Woods on their podcast, the YouTube channel, and even that wouldn't pop up. And I had to do this trick in order to get it to work. I was like, they got to fix that. It still works. It doesn't glitch out or anything, but it was just getting there. But overall,
they definitely got to fix it, though.
Yeah, they definitely got to fix it. They got to fix it, and that's it. But there was a lot. There's a lot going on there, and I'm glad they're not taking anything out. That's always my fear, that they're like, oh well, we had to make some adjustments and make this look good, but we had to take this out. No, it sounds like that everything is still going to stay there. Create a ring, create all that stuff. One of the things that people are hoping for, I'm not so crazy about it, but it was like create stories. Remember that was a thing a few years back?
I do remember that, yep.
Where you create stories and people recreate like old ECW storylines and stuff like that. That's a lot of typing, a lot of putting stuff in and doing it. And I guess if you have the time and you want to get into that, that's fine. But I don't need all of that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But overall, I'm excited. This is all promising. It's information. It's all good.
I'm very excited. I'm glad that they finally revealed some information about the game. So now I look forward to seeing more information in the weeks ahead, for sure.
Yep.
More trailers, etc.
More. Yep. I'm excited. I hope they get everything worked out for 2K22 and even 2K23 for the Steam Deck, because I do play it on my Steam Deck. It
Mm.
works. The thing is that you have to go in offline mode because they have their anti-cheat software that's running in the background and it seems to crash. So if I boot it up, it'll automatically connect on, and I guess it doesn't support it for the Linux OS, and then it crashes. But if I go in offline mode, it works just fine. So I just can't play online. So I'll just do like my universe and just play some matches and stuff. And it's fantastic to play, that version, and not like that 2K18 that they released on the Switch that was broken out of the box. And it's still there. You can still buy it at full price in the eShop, which is I don't understand that. It's unplayable. You can't even do a one-on-one match. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But hopefully they get those little kinks worked out for the Steam Deck for 23 and figure out a way to get that work. Because, man, to play this game on the go, fantastic. Yeah. And we know they can do it. I'm doing it now. 22 is working on it. No problems. Besides, I can't, play online. But yeah, I'm excited. We'll see. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more info from them, and they'll probably send us some more info through the press announcements, documentations and stuff. So,
absolutely. So, definitely, I would say if you enjoyed this coverage of WWE 2K23, feel free to like, comment, consider subscribing. We definitely are going to be covering this game more because obviously we're huge WWE 2K fans. So this will not be the only content you see regarding WWE 2K. Yeah. So stay tuned for more.
And something else wrestling related, which I want to say it could be controversial. It was leaked. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see I am a figure collector. I have a lot of them. I got a few. So anyway, it was leaked that Stardust, Mattel is making a Stardust figure. And the reason why I find this controversial is because, the big deal is Cody's return. Cody is back. Yeah, he got hurt, but that's another big thing that Jinx talked about. And they also confirmed on the main page of the website, like some of the superstars, Brock, Roman, everything. And they make sure to point out American Nightmare, Cody. And we've heard his interviews, and he's talked about it over on Peacock when he did that Steve Austin and all that stuff, that he doesn't want to do anything with Stardust. That was the past. That the agreement was him coming back as what his American Nightmare gimmick, his story. That's what got him over out in the world. And that's when he built up, and he wanted to bring that over, and said, Vince gave him a handshake and said, fine, that works. Well, why are you releasing a Stardust figure? Elite Series 103 has Stardust listed as the next. Why? Because and people are like, well, it's just a toy. Yeah, but when you put it out there and then it's there, I don't know if it's going to say Cody on it, but still, it's alternate character, and he doesn't want anything to do with that. And especially if he's focusing and building up this persona that he has now. You don't want a toy out there running around and like showing Stardust. No, I don't know. I think that's a bad look. I don't know if he probably even knows. Because he probably just signed off. Yeah, make toys for me. Oh, yeah, all right. We're gonna make toys for your Cody, and there's some that are coming in the pipeline of him now, American Nightmare. But then we're also gonna do a Stardust. We're gonna bring that back. I'm not a fan of that. But anyway, yeah. So we'll be back to cover whenever we get bigger news. But also, well, I guess we can do this when those packs start coming out.
Yeah,
when that happens. We definitely talk about the packs because it's going to happen. They do it every year. We haven't seen any announcement for it, but when you mean packs, we're talking about like when they had the Bonsai, the Most Wanted pack, when they put those bundles and stuff. Some of them are good, some are, but they always, it's like the last one that they squeezed in. I think there was like, what was it? They had Rob Van Dam in one, and everyone was like, oh, he's the only one I want. Can't I get him just separate? It's like, no, you have to buy the whole pack.
Yeah, and you had to wait to play as him because that was like towards the end, like the third.
Yeah, that was like the last pack. Yeah, like toward the last. Yeah. So we'll see. But that's it. That's it. So I'm excited. At least now we got confirmation. We didn't have to wait till the Rumble. We got it March 17th. I'm pretty sure they can stick with that date. They gave an actual date, so I don't think we're going to see any issues with this. And I'm excited. Let's do this.
I agree. So before we end off the video, do you have any shout outs that you would like to give?
Yep. Shout out to you. Shout out to everybody over on iTunes, and then that's following also everybody over at the Koalition. That's the mothership. That's the site that we're part of. So check us out there. We do our reviews and coverage of all kinds of things, games, TV, all that stuff. And that's it. That's pretty much it.
Yes. And I also echo the same. Shout out to everybody that checked out this content. And like I said, if you're a WWE 2K23 fan, we're definitely going to be talking more about the game as well as other games here on the Koalition Gaming channel. So definitely feel free to check us out. But until then, hope you all have a great evening, and we'll talk to you all next time.
Peace.